They say that of all the senses, smell holds the most power. It can resurrect memories long buried, even from the days of our childhood. But when I caught a whiff from the mailbox that day, it wasn't a memory from my early years that surfaced. No, this scent was far more recent, and it instantly soured my mood. The unmistakable fragrance of Christian Dior's Dune lingered in the air, a perfume that had been my wife's signature scent for the majority of our marriage. I didn't need to guess why the scent haunted me now. She must have sent me an invitation to her upcoming wedding. The nerve. As if I'd want to witness her waltzing down the aisle with the very man she betrayed me with. The same man I caught her with in our bed. The reason she's now my ex-wife. As I sifted through the usual pile of bills and junk mail, my fingers froze upon finding an elegant envelope. My name was written in exquisite calligraphy, inked in deep purple, her favorite color, which she always claimed was the color of royalty. Royalty, she used to say, but she was no more royal than my neighbor's cat. Am I bitter? Hell yes. She didn't just cheat on me, she cheated on me with a man who has been my rival since high school. I almost didn't open the invitation, but curiosity got the better of me. I needed to know when this travesty of a wedding was happening, so I could make sure I was out of town. July 23rd, 3 p.m. Perfect, I could definitely be somewhere else. The venue was the most prestigious church in the city, of course, a place of honor, just like she'd always wanted. And now, she was trading me in for someone wealthier, so naturally, only the best would do. I crumpled the invitation and tossed it in the trash. Before the mail ruined my day, I had been in a great mood. Work had gone well, and Sophia, one of the new employees, had dropped by my office to chat. I'm still not sure if she was flirting or just being friendly, but her smile had lifted my spirits like nothing else had in the past year and a half. My divorce had been a dark cloud over my life, but somehow, Sophia's warmth had managed to break through. I couldn't help but think about my ex-wife, Eleanor. 26 years together, 23 of them married. The memories we shared, both good and bad, flooded back as I grabbed a beer, plopped down on the couch, and turned on the TV. Time slipped away from me as I sat there, staring blankly at the screen. When I finally lifted the bottle to my lips for a last sip, the beer had gone warm. Just as I was contemplating grabbing another beer, the phone rang. It was my daughter, Casey. "Hey there, little bear," I greeted her. "Hi, Dad. How are you?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. "I was fine until I came home and checked the mail," I sighed. "So, you got the invitation?" she said, already knowing the answer. "Yes. Can you believe the audacity? I can't imagine why I'd want to be there, watching her marry that jerk. Dad, I told her not to send it, but she insisted. She said, he has to handle it. Maybe he'll come to see his daughter as a bridesmaid. Well, I'm not going. I've already tossed the invitation where it belongs, in the trash." "Dad, please reconsider," Casey pleaded. "I need you there. I don't want to face it alone." The guilt weighed on me. She was my daughter, and she needed me, but the thought of attending that wedding made my stomach churn. "Casey, you don't need me there. Brent will be there to support you." "Dad, what about next year when Brent and I get married? Will you skip that too?" "Of course not, little bear. I wouldn't miss that for the world. I can't wait to walk you down the aisle." "But Dad, you'll still have to be in the same church with them next year. Can't you just be the bigger person and come to this wedding?" "I don't think I'm capable of being that big," I admitted, my voice heavy with unresolved hurt. "Just think about it, Dad. I really want you there with me," she said, her voice soft and hopeful. "I'll think about it," I conceded, though the thought of going still felt impossible. Later that night, as I sat alone with my thoughts, I found myself reaching for a pen and paper. It was a habit from my younger days, writing down my problems, dealing with each one separately. Maybe it was the fact that Ron had been my nemesis since elementary school that made this betrayal feel so personal. I knew confronting him face to face would do no good, so instead, I began to write him a letter. "Ron, I suppose the better man won. Jill chose you after all. We've been rivals since elementary school, and you were always my worst enemy. Even in high school, we competed, especially for Jill. When she chose someone else, you didn't let it go. Later, in college, she chose me, but I guess you never could get over that. Now, after all these years, you had to chase after her, simply because she was mine. Sure, I'm angry at you, but I'm angrier at Jill, my loving wife, or rather, my ex-wife. She proved, after 26 years together, that I didn't really know her at all. When we started dating, we shared everything. Our hopes, dreams, even our fears. But as the years passed, we talked less and less. By the end of our marriage, we barely communicated at all. I keep replaying the things I once loved about her, knowing you'll now get to experience all those little things. You'll wake up beside her, see her without makeup, with her hair all tangled from sleep. You'll be the one waiting for her to spend an hour in the bathroom, getting ready. I hope you're ready for that. But then again, maybe that's exactly what you wanted. Kurt. I finished writing, folded the letter, and left it on the table. I didn't intend to send it, but just writing it had lifted a weight off my shoulders. The next day, I was nursing a hangover from a night of too much drinking. I didn't even get out of bed until the afternoon, when the smell of sweat and stale alcohol finally forced me into the shower. After cleaning up, I decided to head to the pub for a burger, hoping greasy food might help. Sophia noticed my mood at work the following week and asked what was wrong. "Trouble with my ex," I muttered. She wasn't around when the divorce went down, so she didn't know the full story. "Kurt, let's have dinner after work. I hate to see you so down," she offered. I hesitated. "I don't want my bad mood to bring you down." "Nonsense," she insisted. "Maybe I'm just what you need to cheer up." Was that a flirt, or was she just being nice? I couldn't tell anymore. We had dinner, and as we talked, I opened up about what happened with Jill. Sophia listened, genuinely interested, and I could tell from her responses that she understood my lingering anger and hurt. I apologized for burdening her with my problems and asked about her own relationships. She shared stories of her marriage to a drunk and a long-term relationship that never led to marriage. She had been through her own struggles and seemed to understand mine on a deeper level. The night ended with a hug, and as she walked to her car, I realized how much she had changed my mood. On the drive home, I found myself smiling, singing along to a country song on the radio. But when I walked into my living room and saw the letter to Ron still sitting there, my smile faded. Sophia had lifted my spirits, but the hurt from the past still lingered. I picked up the letter and thought about Jill, about our marriage and everything that had gone wrong. Our relationship was far from perfect, just like any couple's. There were little things that used to drive me crazy, but I had learned to live with them. Like the way Jill used to tap her fork against her plate 3 times before taking a bite. I once asked her why she did it, and she said it was to make sure the food wouldn't fall off. I put the letter aside, thinking about how trivial it all seemed now. Sophia had shown me that life could be different, that maybe the future held something better. As the weeks passed, Sophia and I grew closer. We went out more often, and each time I found myself looking forward to our next meeting. One evening, after another dinner together, she hugged me tightly before heading inside her apartment. I stood there for a moment, watching her go, and realized how much she meant to me. But every time I returned home, the letter was there, waiting. It was a reminder of the pain I had been trying to move past, and yet I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Writing it had helped, but the anger still simmered beneath the surface. Then, one Saturday afternoon, Casey called again. "Dad, have you RSVP'd to Mom yet?" she asked. "No, honey, I told you I threw the invitation in the trash." "Dad, please, go for me. It's important to me." I sighed, frustrated. "Why do you want me to go so badly? Do you really think I want to see Ron smirking at me while he marries your mother?" "I understand, Dad, but if you don't go, it'll just make him feel like he's won." I thought about it. Casey was right. I didn't want Ron to think he had the upper hand. "All right, honey, I'll think about it." "Thanks, Dad. I really want you there with me." After hanging up, I decided I needed a distraction. I called Sophia. "Hey, Sophia, how are you? I was just thinking about you." Do you have any plans for today? I'm glad you called, Kurt. I don't have any plans. Do you have something in mind? I was thinking we could take a drive. Just see where the road takes us. Sounds perfect. I'm all yours, she replied, and I could hear the smile in her voice. We spent the day driving through the countryside, the beauty of the world around us distracting me from my thoughts. We stopped at a scenic overlook, and as the wind picked up, I pulled her close to keep warm. She looked up at me, and before I knew it, we were kissing. Our first kiss. It had been almost 3 decades since I had kissed anyone other than Jill, but Sophia's embrace felt so natural, so right. When we finally pulled away, she smiled, and I knew that this was the beginning of something new, something better. We walked hand in hand, talking about our past relationships, our hopes, and our fears. Sophia opened up about her difficult marriage and the long-term relationship that had left her disillusioned. I shared more about my divorce, and she listened, her understanding easing the pain. As we drove back, I realized just how different Sophia was from Jill. There was no comparison. Sophia was everything Jill wasn't, and I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. That night, I didn't even glance at the letter. I didn't need it anymore. Sophia had given me something far more valuable, hope for the future. The following week, Casey called again. Dad, the wedding is in 15 days. Please, be the bigger person and agree to go. I hesitated, knowing how much it meant to her. Okay, I finally said, but on one condition. What's that? She asked, her voice eager. I'll bring a +1. You'll have to meet her and accept her because she might just become your stepmother. Really? I can't wait to meet her. I smiled, knowing I had made the right decision. The day of the wedding arrived. I picked up Sophia, who looked stunning in a dress that highlighted her natural beauty. We sat near the back of the church, not wanting to draw attention away from the bride. 3 days before, I had sent the letter to Ron. It wasn't about being vindictive, it was about closure. As we sat there, I saw Ron scanning the room, looking for me. When he spotted Sophia at my side, he nearly tripped. He knew then that I had moved on, that the best man had indeed won. The following year, I walked Casey down the aisle at her own wedding, a proud father. Jill was there, of course, but not Ron. They were already in the process of divorcing. It hadn't even lasted a year. The reality of daily life had eroded their romance, and Ron had discovered that a trophy wife wasn't what he had imagined. Jill took it hard. She even approached me, asking for forgiveness, wondering if there was a way to start over. But I was done. I had moved on, and my future was with Sophia. I didn't send Jill an invitation to our wedding. There was no need for bitterness anymore. Life had given me a second chance, and I wasn't going to waste it. And so, as I stand here, ready to marry the woman who truly makes me happy, I realize that sometimes the things that break us are the very things that lead us to something better, something worth fighting for. So, if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, know this: the story doesn't end there. Your next chapter might just be the best one yet. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And don't forget to check out the next video, because if you thought this was intense, you haven't seen anything yet.